Our journey today begins with a warm welcome from the conference chairman, Dr. Andala Ramaputra Barusman, SAMIHA. Dr. Andala Ramaputra Barusman, his leadership has been instrumental in bringing together today's gathering, and his insight with undoubtedly set the stage for a day of fruitful discussion. Without further ado, I invite Dr. Andala Ramaputra Barusman to deliver the welcome speech. Dr. Andala Ramaputra Barusman, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Distinguished guests, esteemed keynote speakers, respected colleagues, scholars, students, and all participants. It is with great pleasure and immense pride that I welcome you all to the opening ceremony of the second International Conference on Management, Leadership, and Organizational Science, or ICOMLOS 2023. This momentous occasion marks the convergence of intellectual minds, a collaborative effort between the esteemed graduate school of Universitas Bandar Lampung and the distinguished Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Bandar Lampung. The conference will commence on Tuesday, 7th December 2023, start 2 p.m. Western United Time, hosted in the distinguished auditorium of the Graduate School, Universitas Bandar Lampung. Our conference theme today, Strengthening Organizational Leadership for Competitive and Sustainable Business Development, is both timely and critical in navigating the complexities of the contemporary business landscape. Today, as we gather in the pursuit of knowledge and academic excellence, we are honored to be the presence of distinguished scholars and thought leaders who have graciously accepted our invitation to share their insights. We are privileged to have the following esteemed keynote speakers. The first, Dr. Hani Nun, a respected academic from Universitas Bandar Lampung, Indonesia. Second, Professor Hakim Ben Othman, PhD from ICN Business School Nancy, Grand East, France. The third, Professor Narina Ringo, representing Northeastern Federal University in Russia. And the fourth is Dr. Sardana Khan, a scholar from Queensland University, Australia. Their presence adds immeasurable value to our discourse and premises to elevate the quality of discussion about the course on this conference. I extend my sincere appreciations to all participants, including students, lecturers, and scholars from diverse disciplines who have graced us with their presence. Your collective wisdom and engagement are integral to the success of this academic endeavor. In embracing the spirit of inclusivity, the second ICOMLOS 2023 will be conducted in hybrid format, accommodating both in-person and virtual participation. This approach reflects our commitment to transcending geographical boundaries and fostering a global community of scholars. I would like also to express my gratitude to the organizing committee to their meticulous planning and dedication. The effort have culminated the creation of a platform that encourages the exchange of the ideas and the advancement of knowledge. And I'm confident that presentation, discussion, and collaboration that unfold will contribute significantly to our collective understanding of management, leadership, and organizational science. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to all you participants, and I eagerly anticipate the intellectual journey that lies ahead. May the second ICOMLOS 2023 be a beacon of knowledge, fostering meaningful connection and contributing to advancement of our academic pursuit. And by saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, the second ICOMLOS 2023 is officially begun. Thank you and enjoy the conference. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Dr. Andela Ramaputra Barusman, for your inspiring words and for officially inaugurating our conference. Before we start this intellectual trip, I'd like to hand the controls over to our esteemed moderator. She will lead us through today's session, which will feature 4 outstanding keynote speakers. Their knowledge should give us useful information. How about to lead organizations show that business can grow in a way that is both competitive and long-lasting. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our moderator for the day. Is Finella, brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the stage, and we're eager to benefit from their guidance. For Finella, time is yours.
Test. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a happy day because we have such a good international conference again. And then my name is Christina Finella, but you can call me Finella. I am the moderator of the first presentation. So for the first session, we have 2 keynote speakers. The first one is Dr. Haninun, MSAK. And then the second one is Professor Hakim Ben Othman, PhD. Okay, without further ado, come forward to be seated in front of the audience. Dr. Haninun, MSAK, as a lecturer at postgraduate program, Universitas Bandar Lampung. Place is yours. Thank you, Dr. Haninun. And then I will read curriculum vitae from Dr. Haninun. Okay, for now, Dr. Haninun is a permanent lecturer at Bandar Lampung University. She completed her doctoral degree at the Postgraduate Faculty of Economics, University of Lampung in 2020. She has successfully published 6 scientific journals, 4 of them are on Scopus. She is also the speaker at 5 international seminars, 3 in Indonesia and 2 abroad. Not only that, she did community service. The first one, she conducted technical guidance on village fund management for operators in Tulang Bawang Regency. The second, she collaborated with the Faculty of Engineering in designing mobile laboratory. The last, she actively participated in Lampungku activities, collaboration with PLN. That's all from Dr. Haninun curriculum vitae. The presentation is given approximately 15 minutes. Bu Haninun.
Thank you, moderator. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Tabi pun. To the Honorable Dr. Andala Ramaputra Barusman as the Director of the Master Degree at Universitas Bandar Lampung. I am Dr. Haninun from Universitas Bandar Lampung, Indonesia. In this conference, I would like to present my research titled Environmental Accounting on Corporate Sustainability. The background to this research is the environmental crisis that occurred, such as global warming, climate change, and environmental disasters. Global warming is a major issue in the world, a challenge that must be faced by the world in the 20th century. This has an impact on the increase in temperature on Earth, which result in a loss of balance in the Earth cycle. Rising surface temperature and unpredictable seasonal change, climate change, impact natural disasters everywhere, ranging from hurricane, tropical cyclones, floods, endemic, drought, El Nino, famine, tsunami, and various other disasters that result in the loss of ecosystem function that have an impact on the occur of ecological disasters. There are different goals between sustainable development and the industrial world. As we know, sustainable development requires development to meet current need without reducing the ability of future generations to meet their need, while of course, the industrial world is still largely focused on the desire to achieve high profit without paying attention to environmental safety. Next, we can see from table there are examples of environmental disasters in global and in Indonesia. Okay, you look, please. You see in the presentation environmental disasters in global and Indonesia. The government in Indonesia, through the Ministry of Environment, give award to industry that can manage the environment well. It is called proper. Proper is given with 5 ranking category. The ranking is given in the form of color. The highest color is gold, the second color is green, the third color is blue, the fourth color is black, and the fifth color is red. Good color with the companies that have consistent demonstrate excellent environment in production process and services, as well as conducting business that is ethical and responsible to society. Green color award to companies that have conduct management environment more than required in the regulation through the implementation of management system and utilizing resources efficiently, as well as implementing social responsibility well. Blue color award to companies that have conduct effort management environment required in accordance with provision in the legislation applicable law and regulation applicable. Red color award to companies that have conduct effort management environment but not in accordance with the requirement as stipulated in legislation and petition. Black color is color rating given to company that intentionally commit act or committed negligence so that resulting in the occurrence of pollution environment, as well as committing violation of law and regulation legislation applicable law and regulation and are not implementing adverse sanctions. Next, we can see the development of environmental performance in Indonesia. Please look in the my present. In the picture, there are still many who are in the third category. The blue color rating, this is so that the environmental management carried out by the industrial world in Indonesia has not been maximized. Okay, next. We can see the environmental performance index in Indonesia, in Asia. Singapore ranked first with an index value of 50.9, followed by other countries, Brunei Darussalam, Thailand, East Timor, Malaysia, and Indonesia ranked 9th position out of 11 countries. Yeah. Furthermore, we can see the growth of manufacturing company in Asia. Amid the threat of a global recession, manufacturing activities in several Asian countries continue to expand. This is reflected in the Purchasing Manager Index, which is above the 50 level. If the PMI is above level 50, it indicates that a country manufacturing activities are expanding. Meanwhile, PMI index below 50 indicates a contraction or decline. On the basis of this background, I consider it important to conduct research. Does environmental accounting affect the corporate sustainability? Yeah. This research is based on several theories: stakeholder theory, legitimacy theory, and agency theory. In this research, a hypothesis is proposed: environmental accounting positive effect of corporate sustainability. This hypothesis is based on stakeholder theory, legitimacy theory, and agency theory, and is supported by several very first studies, Diamond and Ferencia, so that by disclosing private information, investor demand for compensation decrease because transaction costs decrease. Simonapa and Hazel, so that environmental risk differ significantly across industry. Botosan found that there is no significant relationship between the disclosure of company that get a lot of attention from analysis and the cost of capital. Nahar et al. Found environmental risk disclosure can reduce the cost of capital. Stakeholder theory is one of the grand theory most widely used a basis for sustainability report research. This theory explains that the existence of an organization is greatly influenced by the support of group and individual who have a relationship with the organization. Legitimacy theory itself is a theory that explains the motivation of manager of organization to be sustainable, the same as stakeholder theory. If stakeholder theory is motivated by the company responsibility toward its stakeholder, then legitimacy theory itself uses motivation to gain approval or acceptance from society. Legitimacy also predicts that the company will take whatever action in deemed necessary in order to maintain its reputation as a legitimate company. Agency theory discusses the resolution of two problems that commonly occur in agency relationship. The first agency problem arises when there are different goals between the principal and agent, and it's difficult for the principal to ascertain what is actually happening to agent. The second agency problem arises when the principal and agent have different treatment in dealing with emerging risks. Based on this explanation, a conclusion can be drawn that agency theory discusses the interests of each individual, but individuals have duties and responsibility in company operation. Agency theory is closely related to the impact of pollution on company. Manager play a role in seeking business impact so that organization can continue. At the top management point, it must be proven by the company mission statement in the form of a step strategy to demonstration to company committee. Next. Research methodology. This research explanatory method approach quantitative population company list on the IDX sampling technique, purposive sampling, and have 92 companies and 330 observed past data. Variable independent for independent variable environmental accounting with proxy environmental disclosure, dependent variable, corporate sustainability with proxy, profitability, control variable, company size and leverage. Disclosure measurement, I use Clarkson. This is have 7 category. Number 1, governance structure and management system. Number 2, credibility. Number 3, environmental performance indicator. Number 4, environmental spending. 5, vision and strategy claim. 6, environmental profile. The 7, environmental initiative. Measurement for corporate sustainability, proxy profitability, I use return on equity. Analyze method, I use this is model, descriptive, statistical, analytical, and model. Please you see and the my present. Result and discussion. Distribution of sample company. Meaning and querying company, that's 30 company. Plantation, agricultural, livestock and animal feed, 60 companies, food and beverage industry, 45 company. Disclosure score, the highest average disclosure score of the 3 types of agricultural industry, 52.22%. The disclosure score with the with the second highest average is the type of common industry at 61.92%. The mining industry highest average disclosure score was 65.40%. Next, descriptive statistical analysis. Okay. Super stakeholder theory, legitimacy theory, and signaling theory. Disclosure is an expression of the company attention to stakeholder. To extensive environmental disclosure indicated by a high disclosure index will reduce information asymmetry. Signals for company that can be useful for investor in making decision. Financial reports that are transparent and complement with disclosure about the company concern for the environment can provide investor with an estimate of the risk that exists in the company to be low. The expected rate of return will also be low and will ultimately affect the company cost of capital. Conclusion, environmental disclosure has a significant effect on the corporate sustainability. Environmental sustainability is a concern for investor to invest in. High environmental performance will strengthen the level of investor confidence in business sustainability so that companies do not need to spend a lot of money to absorb investment, for example, by offering high return. Importance of voluntary disclosure. Disclosure as a form of company transparency to stakeholder, financial reports that are transparent and accurate with disclosure about the company concern for the environment can provide investor with an estimate of the risk that exists in company to be low. The expected rate of return also become low. Suggestion for this research, for further research, using different measure of environmental accounting, different environmental performance measure, data analysis tool can also improve considering the data on the variable of the study are complex, expanding environmental factor. Okay, that's my presentasi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haninun, for the knowledge. And then to the next speaker, I welcome Professor Hakim Ben Othman, PhD. Thank you so much, Dr. Haninun, for your presentation. If the audience have a question for Dr. Haninun, you can email the questions to Dr. Haninun. We are sorry if we cannot provide the question and answer session because Dr. Haninun has an activity to do. The second speaker is Professor Hakim Ben Othman. I will read curriculum vitae from Professor Hakim. Professor Hakim is accounting professor for a quarter-century academic experience. His activities are centered on, but not limited to, fintech, blockchain, decentralized governance, corporate governance, IFRS, and corporate social reporting. He has a professional experience as a consultant within big auditing firms. He served as the manager of the accounting training program ACCA at KPMG. He served as a consultant and member of the committee under the Tunisian Ministry of Finance in charge of the development of an independent accounting standard setting body and IFRS adoption. He has published in numerous scholarly leading journals in Elsevier, Wiley, Emerald, Taylor, and Francis, and was successfully granted the Agence Universitaire Francophone AUF Postdoctoral Research Fellowship, University of Ottawa. Being committed to several editorial activities, he is an associate editor or member of the editorial board of 4 ABS or ABDC rated journals. So far, he supervised 9 PhD. Professor Hakim, time is yours.
Thank you. If I may share my screen with you. Hello, can you see my screen? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So you can see my screen. I'm trying to share my screen with you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on the time difference. I'm glad to be with you online in this second international conference on management, leadership, and organizational sciences. I'd like to thank Dr. Edwin Mirzafli and Dr. Andala Barusman for the invite. My presentation is about blockchain and sustainability. I try to explain how blockchain technologies are used in implementing the United Nations Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. This is actually driven from an exploratory study conducted with Professor Paul Shrivastava from Penn State University. I start with developing the global consensus on sustainability and how sustainability presents the central challenge for the Anthropocene. Then I'll address fintech and how fintech contributes to financial inclusion, especially in developing countries. In this regard, blockchain technology has an essential role in the decentralized finance. But blockchain technology is not limited to DeFi. Its role goes beyond DeFi. That's why I develop a number of use cases based on blockchain and how blockchain is used in implementing United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Since the 1950s, the accelerated growth in human population from under 2 billion to nearly 8 billion now has spawned exponential growth in real GDP, exponential growth in foreign direct investment, urban population, primary energy use, fertilizer consumption, water use, large dams, paper production, transportation, telecommunication, and international tourism. But the Anthropocene is actually a time in the global geological records when humans have moved the planet outside its natural limits. Humans go from being participants on the whole Earth to being the main feature or actor. This explosion in human activities has put accelerating pressure on natural ecosystems. It has increased accumulation of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, methane in the atmosphere, and we observe a destruction of the stratospheric ozone and a substantial rise in Earth's surface temperature. We all remember the recent, forest fires in Europe, even in cold countries like in France or in Canada recently. And there is a substantial increase in ocean acidification, reduction in marine fish and shrimp population, increase in coastal nitrogen and tropical forest loss. So the Anthropocene is characterized, as I mentioned earlier, by human activities, and as a consequence, many life support Earth systems actually and habits were disrupted because of this substantial increase. And let's take a look now at the Great Acceleration. This slide actually summarizes what we call the Great Acceleration. If you look at your left side here, on the left side, we see the socioeconomic trends that show a substantial increase in world population, in primary energy use, in paper production, in transportation, and international tourism. On the right side, we see the consequences of these socioeconomic trends that are reflected through a substantial increase of carbon emissions, of marine fish capture, of tropical forest loss, and domestic land. So we see the damage that is caused by the socioeconomic trends on the Earth system. Now, the central challenge that human society face in this Anthropocene era is how to sustain life on Earth. And that's the key question here. Sustainability actually is an old concept. The concept of sustainability originated in the 19th century in management of forests in Germany. The challenge at that time was to harvest wood from forest in a moderated and sustainable way so as not to destroy the forest itself. But now the modern use of sustainability was developed by Brundtland Commission, and sustainable development was defined as the type of moderated economic development that allowed us to meet our current needs globally without jeopardizing the ability of future generations to meet theirs. And currently, as the debate on sustainability is matured over the past 50 years, a global consensus has emerged as to what needs to be done to maintain Earth in life-sustaining form. In 2050, 192 nations signed the United Nations Agenda 2030. And we talk about 17 interlinked global goals were designed to be a blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. These 17 interlinked global goals are depicted in the figure below, and they represent the core challenges underlying the Sustainable Development Goals. If we look at the preamble of the United Nations Agenda 2030, this preamble states that these goals are meant to be holistic, are meant to be everyone living on Earth is concerned with agenda. And actually, this agenda shows that if we look at these goals, we can split them into main categories or two groups. The first set of goals is related to Earth systems, natural systems like life below water, life on land. The second set of objectives is related to human aspirations like quality education, gender equality, good health, and well-being. Now, what's the role of fintech regarding sustainability? In simple words, fintech is the use of technology to innovate the financial services. Fintech has the potential to usher in new business models, application processes, and products to increase efficiency, to reduce costs, and improve the access to and delivery of financial services. Fintech includes everything from AI-based tools that help incumbent banks trade to mobile-based challenges. Banks that give consumers immediate access to financial accounts. The fintech market actually involves merchants and consumers, tech developers, investors, financial institutions, as well as regulators. But the fintech ecosystem is based on this switch from the old traditional financial system that is based on incumbents. The incumbents are traditional banks that hold all the power in terms of providing capital to new systems that are peer-to-peer based, that are more decentralized. And this switch actually, or this change from the old banking system to a new one that is based on peer-to-peer was enhanced by the global financial crisis in 2008, and it was also spurred by fintech tools. The fintech, when we talk about fintech, we think about financial inclusion because it has consequences on financial inclusion through open banking. Open banking benefits to anyone, okay, who can have an app on his laptop or on his smartphone to raise capital or to get access to loans. The peer-to-peer financial platforms are based to peer-to-peer payments or peer-to-peer lending, crowdfunding, as well as equity crowdfunding. And we talk also about digital identity that has made it easy for refugees, for example, to have access to IDs and to have to raise funds or to open bank accounts. And this actually reduces the cost of anti-money laundering and other identity-related compliance functions. The crux of the matter is that when we talk about sustainability development, it's based on an intricate integration of humans and natural systems mediated by human ingenuity and technology. And this human technology or ingenuity and technology, we will consider one emergent and major emergent technology, which is blockchain technology, because blockchain technology is being used to address not only DeFi issues, but also challenges underlying sustainable development goals. When we talk about blockchain, we should refer to Nakamoto's white paper outlined in 2008 a novel technology of how to transact in a trusted and immutable manner in a digital world without the need of a third party or authority. It's completely decentralized. To validate the transactions, unlike conventional records kept by one bank or account, the blockchain ledger uses a bunch of computers that each add new entries visible to everyone. And the blockchain technology is an open, as I mentioned, is distributed, is decentralized, then there's no central authority, system of records, and that are connected. These records actually are connected using cryptography to protect data. Each block is linked to the next block using complex cryptographic calculations that we call consensus algorithm or protocol. These protocols are essentially, so actually blockchain relies on different protocols. The first one and the oldest one is the proof of work. It consumes a lot of energy because it requires, to gather and to rely on hardware as well as a huge hardware that consumes a lot of electricity. And these protocols are not based on, are also here proof of work that are based on mining activities. So, however, other new protocols were developed, such as the proof of stake and the proof of authority. The proof of stake dictates that capital owners will stake their own network currency to act as validators. As a consequence, if a validator behaves dishonestly, the state currency that served as a collateral can be destroyed, and the proof of stake provides we have economic penalties that offer guarantee against any behavior. The proof of authority is also another protocol that does not cause any damage to the environment, but it consists in staking the reputation of participants rather than their network currency. Now, how blockchain technologies are used to address the core challenges underlying the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We will address them one by one, and we will take a look at the DeFi, decentralized finance, that can help to solve problems or to elevate poverty, for example. That's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal #1. It helps address and fix the issue of hunger. United Nations Sustainable Development Goal #2. It helps to address gender equality issue. That's the goal #5, and to reduce also inequalities. And we see here that DeFi, because it's based on blockchain technology, helps to address the first set of problems or the first set of goals that is related to human aspirations. So through new methods of borrowing, but providing new methods of borrowing that are essentially peer-to-peer, making capital accessible to poorer sections of society, and increasing share capital or receiving donations. And many people around the world do not have access to bank in emerging countries, in developing countries, but also even in developed countries. If we take the example of the States, for example, minorities like Hispanic or other minorities living in the States, according to some statistics, they don't have access to banks and to bank accounts, and to be able to raise capital. This can provide a solution for these populations that do not have access to bank accounts because they don't qualify, as they are not able to show stable income or a signed mortgage to guarantee for the loan. Peer-to-peer lending is a solution that helps to democratize financing and to reduce the transaction costs and fees associated with traditional banks. And we have the example of, or the success story of Compound that launched a DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization to fundraise, manage financial operations, and decentralized governance to the community. Any unbanked person can actually benefit from peer-to-peer lending via this platform, which provides interest rates markets on Ethereum blockchain. And these interest rates actually are based on what we call, smart contracts. And these smart contracts are contracts or algorithms that work, or that will be executed once predetermined conditions are met. Crowdfunding, rather than asking for a loan from a single bank, and usually the bank will require for some guarantees, or to assign an asset as a mortgage. Here, there's no problem of guarantees, and the crowdfunding consists of appealing directly for individual donors through platforms, and we have some success stories, like the one of GoFundMe, which is an online charity fundraising platform for social causes, as well as Usizo. Usizo is a successful project in South Africa that relies on blockchain smart contracts to enable individuals to make donations to pay electricity bills of underfunded schools. Schools are underfunded, and we allow individuals, to participate through that platform to donate. Equity crowdfunding, to raise capital, to set up a new project, especially for startups. Small businesses usually struggle to find banks to give them loans, but blockchain technology provides a new method to raise money for startups and small businesses over the world. And we have the example of women in developing countries in Brazil and South Africa that did actually benefit from crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding to expand their businesses. Farmers also in Nigeria, they save money and invest in digital currencies, including Bitcoin, because they do not trust fiat currency. Because of there is a significant inflation, for instance, in Nigeria and some other sub-Saharan African countries. Blockchain technology now does not only serve to raise funds for startups or P2P lending for unbanked women in developing countries, but we go further here in our analysis, and we address other goals. Let's take a look at goal number 3, good health and well-being. Good health and well-being. Blockchain technology serves to follow or keep track of medicines and drugs, and make sure that about the authenticity of these medicines. Medical supply blockchains are now tracking pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, Ministry of Health, insurance companies will have more efficient and faster and secure data on the authenticity of drugs circulating global markets through medical supply tracking on blockchain. And we see here that blockchain is not limited to DeFi, decentralized finance. It helps the healthcare system to improve and for its efficiency and make sure that all drugs are authentic. Blockchain technology can be used when we create electronic health records, for example, for patients that will keep control over their data and will allow medical doctors or pharmacies or even research centers to share their data. Because actually, if we go back to the origin of the problem, that these medical records are fragmented. So they work in silos, and information, we don't have access to information related to patients. And patients, when they want to one doctor, they have to present the same files and same data. So this solves the problem of sharing data and having control on its own data. Blockchain serves also for vaccination traceability to make sure that everyone is vaccinated. And it has worked actually in Europe when people try to make sure that you are vaccinated to enter a shopping center to ask for any service. So blockchain technology is helping to record vaccinated data for pupils on the blockchain and any other person. This enables the schools, medical doctors, pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies to validate vaccinations quickly. Blockchain technology streamlines educational and professional qualifications. It serves to make sure that your degrees are authentic. So, and you have control over your degrees, your data. So you can present your QR code, for example, to show that this is a degree that is provided by your university, and there is no doubt on the authenticity of your degree. And we have also another example related to certificates. Even it's about professional certificates, when Esme Learning has partnered with St. Vincent's School from University of Oxford to deliver a selection of online executive education programs. And the professional achievements here are represented as a digital credential and can be shared on the network from Credly's Acclaim platform. And the digital credentials go beyond paper certificates. They are verifiable, portable, and uniquely linked to a holder of the certificate. So you keep control over your data, over your degrees, and you can share them with anyone you want. Blockchain technology makes the legal sector more accessible and transparent to the public. And we see here that blockchain can help and support implementing the quality of education, which is goal number 4, as well as goal number 16. It contributes to peace, justice, and strong institutions. It strengthens public institutions. How? Blockchain technology can democratize access to justice system. It streamlines, disintermediates, and secures process in the legal industry. It avoids complexity of procedures and cuts down legal fees. For example, legal contracts can be digitally signed and immutably stored on blockchain. Smart contracts can on the blockchain will enable the automation and execution of contracts. As I mentioned earlier, smart contracts are contracts that are executed automatically once predetermined conditions are met. So we don't need humans to make sure or to decide about the execution of these contracts. We refer to algorithms, to protocols, which reduces, and this reduces actually substantially the cost of handling standard law documents. And we have the example of a Swiss startup that is called Advoreto. It addresses legal documentation and allows sharing the transactions that can be both executed securely on this platform. Digital identity blockchain based solution serves to eliminate fraudulent activities and preserve democracies. Various identities are handled on various platforms. The link between digital and offline platforms is often not secure. It becomes easy for an ill-intentioned person to create a fake identity. But when we use digital identity, DI, based on blockchain. This secures identities because once the identity is created, it's immutable. Nobody else can alter this identity or present any fake identity. Blockchain technology benefits to energy industry. And we see again that blockchain does not only serve DeFi, decentralized finance. This is another area which is different from decentralized finance. So we address the area of energy industry and even clean energy. So in this example of CNE, the Chilean National Energy Commission, for example, they launched in 2018 a blockchain project for energy based on Ethereum blockchain, and it was used to record, store, and track energy data for the purpose of transparency. And this CNE gave the public access to records of transactions and prices. So the blockchain technology here enables an efficient use of distribution of energy for utility providers. It's a decentralized platform. Peer-to-peer energy trading. So blockchain technology enables peer-to-peer energy trading among people and among the population, individuals. A peer-to-peer energy market, it's not centralized, okay, by the government, but it provides energy that is affordable to the masses. And we have the example of Power Ledger, which is an Australian company that has connected communities to one another in order to create microgrids and engage in peer-to-peer earning trading, energy trading. Clean markets, it helps and supports also developing a green energy market. How? Blockchain technology enhances a clean market, clean energy market through, for example, providing an easy access and sharing data, and offer a good opportunity for a blockchain technology use case. We have the example of Energy Power Foundation that uses the enterprise Ethereum blockchain to support zero carbon economy. It enables individuals to trade clean energy they produce with their peers in the same geographical area. Blockchain technology ensures the tracking of licensing for fishing activity. It preserves the life below water against any misuse of natural resources by farmers, for example. So here we can offer and keep track of licensing of fishing activity, which is accurate, tracking of the fishing procedures, location, transparency into the provenance. We know the origin of these fish that is on the market. We know about the origin and the whole supply chain, of these products to the point of consumption. And we have the example of Sustainable Shrimp Partnership in Ecuador, a developing country. It's a successful case here that links data from farmed shrimp to a blockchain platform run by the IBM food truck. We have another example here. So we have so many examples related to different areas, as you have noticed, that are not necessarily linked to the finance, decentralized finance. But we should be aware about some concerns or some shortcomings maybe related to blockchain technology, because the first concern maybe is related to the complex regulatory environment, because blockchain is an emergent technology. It is completely decentralized. It is open usually, but we have some structures that are permitted, which are not open. But in the end, you can think that people are from worldwide do have access to this technology, and there is a problem of regulation. Which regulation will be applicable? Because in blockchain we ignore geographical, limitations. There is another problem related to energy use, or maybe the damage that can be caused by the protocol, by using the protocol, which proof of work. But we can overcome this limitation related to the huge consumption of energy by switching to other protocols like proof of stake or proof of authority. And even by referring or relying on proof of work, we can also use green energy rather than fuel energy or electricity energy. So we can find solutions to the problem of a huge consumption of energy. So to sum up, or in brief, we can say that inclusive finance provides public accessibility to finance through P2P lending platforms, crowdfunding. In addition, the ledger system eliminates intermediaries. That's the key point we need to maybe to bear in mind, and needless costs will be avoided. It offers providing secure transactions. This represents disruptive innovation that enhances traceability and transparency. It promotes trust in the political system and governmental institutions that can be translated to enhanced well-being and can further promote economic growth. A blockchain-based digital government actually reduces excessive costs driven from managing accountability and disclosure policies. Citizens, regardless their persona, can access to secured online civil system, which promotes and enhances actually transparency among the population, and citizens, they will better trust the government. We do have some research avenues which are related to blockchain, because blockchain actually is an emerging technology, and we maybe there's a lack of empirical studies on blockchain. We do find a lot of many papers that are discussed the advantages, the pros and the cons of these technologies, but we need to conduct empirical studies, maybe by conducting surveys, get in touch with managers in companies. There are some companies that are using IoT, like Bosch company, which is a pioneer German company in Europe. They are using IoT, so we can conduct interviews and surveys with these type of companies, which are not very common or not spread all over the world, to learn more about their practices, and maybe to simulate some data which is driven from these companies. We can also refer to some databases related to initial coin offerings. Initial coin offerings is a digital market. It has nothing to do with it works like IPOs, initial public offerings on the stock market. But we on that digital market we trade the securities that are traded are not shares or stocks, but they are coins. So there is a lot of we think about many papers or many research avenues that are related to inclusiveness, to RegTech, because when we talk about RegTech, for example, even regulation will be automated through smart contracts. Can it replace one day or be a substitute to traditional corporate governance mechanisms that are centralized? We talk about decentralized governance on these platforms, and this is something that is completely new. So we need to think about how these smart contracts will work and replace humans. Or blockchain disruptive innovation and democracy. We can in elections, for example, anyone could have access to these platforms that are completely open, and instead of electing officials, governments, and like we are doing nowadays, we can think about having access. And in Switzerland, for example, they are using blockchain technology for elections, because they are conducting referendums on a very frequent basis every year. So we can save costs, because to organize elections, we have to spend a lot of money. We need human resources, and by referring and using blockchain technology, we can save costs and guarantee transparency and immutability of data, and data can never be altered. Thank you, and I'll be glad to answer to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Hakim. For the audience, if you have any questions, you can ask and please raise your hand. Joan, Joan Setra. Okay, thank you for the moderator. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Joan Rahmadini Trisetra. I'm an accounting student from Bandar Lampung University. This time, I would like to ask you, Professor Hakim Ben Othman, PhD, and my question is, how does blockchain enhance transparency and trust in financial transactions, and what role does this play in achieving SDGs related to accountable institutions and sustainable development? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Can I answer, or do you prefer to get some questions and then do you prefer I answer one by one, or?
I think it is better to collect the questions first and then you answer.
Yeah.
Is that okay? For those who wants to ask a question, please raise your hand. Okay, Tamara.
Thank you for moderator. Good afternoon. My name is Tamara. I'm a student accounting University of Bandar Lampung. My question is, how can blockchain technologies be leveraged to empower small business and entrepreneurs in developing countries, contributing to both economic growth and SDG goals? Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. Is there any audience who wants to ask a question again? Please raise your hand. Nimas?
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Nimas Alia, and my question is, what ways can blockchain-based financial service address challenges related to traditional banking system and promote more inclusive access to financial resources? Thank you.
Thank you, Tamara. For Professor Hakim, do you want to answer directly or?
Yeah, thank you for your questions. These are very interesting questions. Actually, when we talk about the traditional banking system that we all know, it's based on incumbents. These are traditional banks that provide loans under certain conditions. If you go to a bank and you want to raise capital or to borrow money, the bank usually asks for guarantees or to assign a piece of land or a house. Just in case you fail to pay, they will take that house and get reimbursed. However, when we talk about blockchain, especially when we take the example of, let's say, crowdfunding, debt crowdfunding, it can be based, it's not necessarily based on blockchain, but in some, very recently, some platforms are using blockchain technology for peer-to-peer lending. When we say peer-to-peer, that means individual to individual. And as an individual, when you enter this platform, you don't need to assign any mortgage. You don't need to assign any guarantee. And usually it works for small amounts, like microcredits. It works for small amounts. Usually women in rural areas that want, for example, who want to set up a business, a new business, and if they go to the bank will ask for mortgages and guarantees. But on these platforms, it's very easy to get access to money, and they will be engaged. They will engage to pay on a certain due date on a regular basis, and usually these are small amounts. And there's a number of success stories in India, in developing countries like in Brazil, in South Africa, of women that were able to raise funds to conduct successful projects, and able also to repay their loans on a regular basis. So it's open, completely open. Usually we use here small amounts, not big amounts to be borrowed, and this offers the opportunity for these categories of the population to set up a business, to raise funds, and even for not only women in rural areas. It works also for early graduate students to set up a new startup. Startups, you need funds, and you can go through these platforms, and these platforms are based on either equity crowdfunding, equity to raise funds, or debt crowdfunding. In debt crowdfunding, you're borrowing, but for equity, you can find new people, new individuals who join you to set up this business. So we can use crowdfunding, debt crowdfunding, or equity crowdfunding. These are usually based on P2P lending or P2P equity funding. And we see here that if you allow in any economy to these populations that usually have no access to banks, they don't have even a bank account, to go through these platforms, this at the end of the day will contribute to the economic growth. Because in an emerging country, for example, if these people, they will rely on themselves and set up their own business, at the end of the day, the country will benefit from these new techniques. So this is to answer to the question of related to how blockchain maybe contribute to the economic growth of a country. And even it solves problems not only related to emerging countries. In developed countries, like, for example, in the United States, there are some populations for some historical reasons that are underbanked. They don't have access to bank accounts. They can use these technologies and to raise funds or to borrow some money. I'm talking about Hispanic, for example, populations that are usually not wealthy compared to the white population. So this offers solutions not only to developing countries, but also to some developed countries. Now, let me come back to the characteristic of blockchain. Blockchain has some essential features and characteristics. The most important characteristic is that it is transparent, it is immutable. So the data that is shared on this platform or structure is immutable. It means that nobody can alter this data. And if we use it in, for example, in preparing financial statements or sharing data related to financial statements, once it is shared on this platform, nobody can change it. And this secures data against any fraudulent or any alteration later on once it is posted on the platform. So it is really safe and nobody can alter this data compared to the current system, financial system, when you can change, for example, your data on the system or disclose data. So it reduces actually the flexibility that some managers are sharing or are enjoying these days, because once it's posted, nobody can alter this data. Because unless we change the algorithm, it's very difficult to change the algorithm. Of course, we are not engineers, but bear in mind that as students who graduating from a business school, we try to address blockchain from a business perspective rather than from engineering perspective, because engineers are writing codes, programs, protocols, consensus. But as a business professor, for example, I'm not supposed to write codes, but I'm trying to understand what's the best strategy to implement, because blockchain, we do have permission blockchains, we do have open blockchains. To solve some problems, maybe we need to use permissions that are not completely open, like the Bitcoin blockchain. As for permission, for example, it works for sharing electronic health records. As a patient, I can share my data. Once I go to the doctor, I store my data there, and it can be shared with any doctor, any clinic, any hospital, any pharmacy, any even research center. And it's very helpful to know, or interesting to know, which one would be more appropriate. There are different structures, different forms of blockchain, and different protocols that we can rely on. So as business students, don't really care about the technical or the how to write codes. You are not supposed to be engineers. Engineers, their job is to write codes, but we try to understand. We do our best to understand what would be the best strategy or the best structure that would fit to solve a specific business problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Hakim, for the answers. And then thank you so much, Professor Hakim, for the knowledge. And that's all from the first session. I am Christina Pinella. Thank you so much for the participation. And then the next is to Miss Weni again. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much for Ms. Finella, who will be guide to first session. For International Conference on Management Leadership and Organizational Social will be source of intelligence and knowledge for all of us. Then I want to call the next moderator. She is Miss Melissa. She will be guide for our next session. With the two keynote speaker is for Prof. Naina Ringo from Russia and Dr. Sardanahan. And Miss Melissa, please be raised and come forward to will be moderator.
Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I, Melissa, am honored to be your moderator for this second session. And wow, that was interesting presentations from both Dr. Haninun and Professor Hakim, but there's still more. So we still have two more incredible keynote speakers lined up to share their insights with us today. And please welcome Professor Narina and Dr. Sardana Khan. And the next presentation would be from Professor Narina. So before I will welcome her to the stage, I would like to introduce you everyone in this auditorium, and also because this is a hybrid conference, also everyone in the Zoom meeting. And I will introduce you Professor Narina Ringo by reading her curriculum vitae, so we can get to know more about Professor Narina. So, Professor Narina has 7 years experience in higher education institutions of the Russian Federation, France, and India, with her key areas being world economics, international marketing, and management. She had taught microeconomics and microeconomics and macroeconomics, also having experience in dissertation and thesis tutorial in Russia, and is currently an assistant professor in Northeastern Federal University in Russia, excelling in the fourth industrial revolution, global market, and e-commerce. Also, as we can see here in her curriculum vitae, it is very interesting because Professor Narina has many great achievements by having many certifications and also successfully published 17 papers and 2 manuals for students. And so today, Professor Narina will be presenting about a topic around the current global scenario. And so without further ado, please welcome Professor Narina to the stage. Professor Narina, the stage is yours.
Thank you. It was very warm and kind greeting. First of all, I would like to say that it was a big honor for us, for our university, and for me personally to be invited here. I represent Northeastern Federal University. It is one of 10 federal universities with status of federal, and we have currently facing particular situations in looking for new partners, but if you are open for communication and trying new programs, we are ready for the dialogue. Today I would like to speak about very close topic to us, mostly what is happening to each and every country, with each and every citizen nowadays. It is disintegration processes that have started. Okay, disintegration and sustainable development. At the end of 1990s, it was considered that globalization and integration processes are solution to each and every economical question. One of the brightest examples of that time was creation of euro, converting the EQ from digital and virtual connections to a real one. European Union was given the destiny of confederation, like it happened with the USA in due time. And it was considered that now it is possible to find a global equalizer that will help each and every country to understand each other better, to remove boundaries, to make movement of capitals easier, and that now it is possible to find one single polar which will be equal to most of the countries, at least to integrate and make collaboration more convenient. But with time it became clear that looking for absolute equality and creation of one monopolar world is very difficult, because still we should take into consideration representation of minorities, of languages, of people who are not ready to go into conventional frames, and the global processes such as economic crisis, such as issues with global pandemic, became inevitable, made inevitable that disintegration is now it's not the age of disintegration processes, but it is nowadays. Now we can observe the floating of international groups, changing of focuses of traditional centers of economic power. And now let's highlight some important moments. In the current scenario, disintegration occurs not only because of inequality, for example, in inflation or unemployment levels between countries during one group or one association, but because of misunderstanding and historical background that accumulated particular issues between countries' relations. Nowadays, we can observe that pendulum swung from integration and looking for the common interests and common points, from looking for the common values, to the opposite direction, when every country tries to obtain its personal goals. Pandemic we can consider as a catalyst for disintegration processes. Probably you have observed it also that world was involved into the war of vaccines, that particular countries acknowledge only the vaccines of particular companies, and it was visible that it is presented kind of competition between which country will be the first and which country will obtain the palm as a winner. Despite it was a global interest to fight with this virus, still it was visible that every country would like to be the first and would like to set up certain restrictions. After that, probably the most complicated and most discussed event in disintegration processes was Brexit 2020, when one of big three of Europe country left the European Union. And after that, we can discuss Central Eastern European crisis. What is it about? Here we speak about war in Ukraine after Russian invasion in the territory of Ukraine to obtain the control under the new territories of Crimea Peninsula and Donetsk and Luhansk republics, still that are considered as a part of Ukraine. Technically, we can speak about proxy war because it is not a war exactly against Ukraine. We can discuss it, but it is a war against the NATO and the demonstration of power. Even in this case, when it is clear that Ukraine and Russia before war almost like same unique nation, speaking very similar languages, having very similar culture and values, still it is observed that disintegration is observed just because the leader of country decided to obtain the certain goals that are not correlating with moral values, so-called international or general common values. Next. Sanctions against Russia also forced the world to be divided into parts. It was very difficult to be neutral, and countries were directly or indirectly involved. Not only countries, but companies as well, such as transnational corporations, as Coca-Cola, for example, or Pepsi & Co., Starbucks, and so on. Yet, companies taking into consideration their behavior did not consider this war and the current process as the end of the world, because they just changed name. For example, McDonald's changed the brand name and sold some rights. Same happened to Starbucks, and still these companies are presented just they do not use their name, to avoid negative associations and connotations that they support or still gain money from the country aggressor or country terrorist. Nowadays, due to sanctions and logistics changes, it's obvious that export-import relations and logistics of delivery of goods changed a lot. Now, it is not possible to transfer gas from Северный поток line because it was blasted or damaged. It's still not clear. Countries try to construct a railway to establish goods. Appeared the concept of gray export-import or parallel export-import, when it is possible to export-import goods and services in the country of sanctions through the third countries, which get particular interest. And still, every country, despite it is clear that it's not good, let me speak very simply. It's not good to support war. It's not good to invest and donate money to it. Still, they're involved in this process. And the last, but of course not the least, it is the current conflict between Israel and Hamas. In 2023, situation is very difficult, and still it also separates the world into halves, because it is not possible to be neutral in this situation. So these conflicts, they did not appear nowadays. These events did not occur directly after pandemic. So there was a particular historical background. With development, with development of these processes and the current situations, with division world into new groups and obtaining the particular services, we can speak about new services that appeared after global pandemic and the war in Ukraine. So we can observe that currently global financial and economic system has particular changes. For example, Visa, MasterCard, JCB, they do not serve now on territory of Russia and partially territory of Belarus because of the regimes. And this measure was applied against the individuals because it was supposed that individuals who have these cards, they are able to make transactions being in the country of origin and abroad. And if the movement of capitals will be restricted, it will be very complicated for them, and they will join, create a very strong opposition, and end up the regimes of undesirable people or war. But it was not obtained because financial market globally responded very fast, and it created new collaborations between domestic original payment systems. It supported and helped to accumulate more power on international regional level for small payment system, like for example RuPay in India, or created collaboration with China and Russia, like Mir Union Pay. With Union Pay financial system, it is still possible to withdraw money from any card issued in Russia abroad in any country. So technically it's possible to avoid this restriction of Visa and MasterCard and JCB sanctions. Also, now we can observe the formation of new excuse me, my time is over. Why I was muted? Okay. So I continue. Formation of new banking and financial services for individuals appeared, exactly for individuals, because nowadays with this integration processes, marketing and all the services became more and more client-oriented, not simply client-oriented. They serve to execute and meet expectations of one particular individual or one particular company. So it led to development of micro operations, including cryptocurrency. Despite not all countries involve cryptocurrency in the financial system of or banking system of country, still it is possible to convert money from countries under sanctions using the wallets, and these micro operations in general overall need to estimate. Still it is an opportunity for future research. Now it is very difficult because it appeared only within last 2 years, and it helps to convert money from countries under sanctions with arrested accounts to withdraw into the countries which have particular good relations with them. Now let's speak about these good relations. Nowadays, international relations are based not on global values like to support, to fight the charity, or to support charity, to fight with global problems, and so on. Of course, it is left like a background. It is the main idea and key goals that highlighted in every program of development. Yet, if we speak about economic goals and financial goals, we can say that nowadays the main principle of construction of relations between countries, between associations, and between groups is connected to historical backgrounds. From historical background, most of countries remember and still study at school colonialism era, the massacres that happened during World War II, what happened after that, the decolonization processes, for example, famines, and so on and so on. And it is highlighted that historically this or that particular countries were behaving well, were not behaving well. And from this, we can observe that despite all the conversations about construction of new worlds with open minded, we see that mainly paternalism is developed because each and every leader of country considered as a father that should take care about his family, which is presented with population, and all the decision taken should be concluded not from the global values, like to take care about hungry people, about poor people. It's not about setting peace at any cost, but to behave taking into consideration the key interest of its population. From this quote, we can conclude the decision-making process is growing up, and from this decision-making, we can observe the foreign affairs policy. For example, why India didn't stopped any relations with Russia and didn't support any sanctions, because there are some particular interests. The discounts for petroleums, for coal, for gas, for example. Also, it is possible to remember that in time of colonialism, or in 1946-47, Winston Churchill created famine, and that no one interfered, and so on. So it's just one simple example of how this kind of foreign affairs policy is created. Why some countries try to be tolerant to obvious crimes against humanity, and because it corresponds to obtain particular interests in nowadays. That's why it is presented like a pyramid. Everything grows from historical backgrounds. Then we consider that now paternalism in leading is trending, that affects the decision-making process, and as a top, we can observe particular foreign affairs policy. For today, that is all. Thanks a lot. And if you have any questions, I am ready to answer.
Yeah. Thank you for the thought-provoking presentation, Professor Narina. And so we will open the Q&A, question and answer session. And we'll be accepting 3 questions per session. And so please, if you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay.
Thank you for moderator. Hello everyone, good afternoon. Let me introduce myself. My name is Evan Felicia Setiawan. I'm from Accounting Study Program of Bandar Lampung University. I want to ask, how does disintegration influence the global supply chain, and what implication does this have for economic sustainability and development goals? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. So, how disintegration affects, once again, I didn't get you. Please, can you repeat the question?
Could you repeat the question, please? Thank you.
How does disintegration influence the global supply chain, and what implication does this have for economic sustainability and development goals?
Okay, now it's clear. Thank you. So, first of all, disintegration process obviously the prices of chain supplies and the construction. For example, now logistics of delivery of petroleum, gas, and coal are varied. They were amended, first of all, and it led to construction of new logistics ways, for example, to deliver goods through Tehran, let's say, or Indonesia, where and new transport nodes appeared. Also, if we speak about financial and financial markets, new services appeared. We can observe the growth of interest to the cryptocurrency. The demand for collaborations between regional and minor financial system appeared. The turnover of currencies that hadn't been observed before appeared also. The accumulation of BRICS currency in banks and usage of currency for the contracts also is observed. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Professor Narina. And moving on to the next question.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Abel Putri Chantika. I'm an accounting student from Bandar Lampung University. So my question is, how does the current global scenario impact the risk of disintegration, and what are the potential consequences for sustainable development?
Okay, thank you, Abel Putri Chantika, for this question. So, if we speak about potential for the current scenario, we can say that associations such as BRICS probably became more powerful on a global area because currently, despite when this association appeared in 2006, no one believed that it will be powerful enough. Because too much differences and gaps are between the countries' participants. For example, between India and China, they have claims to each other about territory, and they had war in 1974. But still the interests to obtain and accumulate power to get new power on a global, a new influence on the global area weighs more than long-lasting conflicts. Benefit is more interesting than right, probably. And if we speak about the future, it looks like that we will observe the reorientation of traditional centers of economic power from West to Asia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for answering, Miss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Narina. And we will continue to the last question. That is the third question.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Salsa Kalestin, and I'm from Bandar Lampung University, and my major is accounting. And my question is, in the face of disintegration trends, how can countries maintain or establish partnerships to address pressing global issues such as climate change and environmental sustainability? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, to be honest, climate change is not topic of my research. So if it is set as a general goal, need to take into consideration the United Nations regulations paper, because all the good ideas were already created before us in these terms, and all the rules are really good enough, just need to fulfill them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for Professor Narina for the answers. And yes, that would be well, we can see that it was an interesting topic and we learned a lot from that. And so we can continue to the next keynote speaker, but before we do, let's express our gratitude to Professor Narina for sharing her expertise. And yes, thank you for your enlightening presentation, Professor Narina. Yes, and so the next presentation would be from Dr. Sardana Khan. Yes, so let me introduce you, Dr. Sardana Khan, and I will read her curriculum vitae for us to get to know more about her. Yes, so Dr. Sardana Khan is a lecturer at Queensland University, Australia, having earned a PhD in Management, Human Resource Management, and was awarded a Doctor of Philosophy on 2013. Dr. Sardana's study involves linking strategically aligned and contextually specified bundle of management and HR, or human resource practices, to employee performance. And as we can see here in the curriculum vitae, Dr. Sardana has many great achievements. She has successfully published 16 of her various research in international journals such as Personnel Review, Journal of Developing Areas, International Journal of Economics and Management, and International Business Research, and various others. Dr. Sardana also authored and co-authored 7 book chapters and also presented 36 papers in international conferences. Dr. Sardana currently have various interests such as high performance work systems, decent work, leadership, gig economy, offshoring, sustainable supply chain management, international business, and human resource analytics. And Dr. Sadhana also has conducted many research, including PhD thesis examination in 6 named universities, such as University of Newcastle, Australia, Pondicherry University, and Visvesvaraya Technological University, India, Excelsior College, Australia. And yes, today Dr. Sadhana will be presenting her topic around high performance work systems. And so without further ado, please welcome Dr. Sadhana to the stage. Dr. Sadhana, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Wonderful, warm welcome. And I would also like to thank Dr. Andala and Edwin for inviting me on behalf of UBL. So welcome to my session. Can you see my screen properly?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. So I'm Sadhana Khan from Central Queensland University, and I'm going to present on creating high-performance work systems for Gen Z workforce, opportunities and challenges for employers mainly. This is my 2024 research agenda built on my current recent high-quality publications. I'm saying high quality because the ones that I'm not very proud of is not building on this research. So this one already progressed a little bit. So the preliminary field study is done, but the main research will start or the survey will start from next year. So first of all, I hope you know that Gen Zs are roughly the people who are born after 1997 up to 2012. And so they are currently entering the job market. And this is the first time 5 generation people are in the workforce worldwide. And that is a challenge for human resource management practices as well as general management and supervisory issues, because different generations are extremely different in nature, expectation, work ethics, and world is changing with Industry 5.0 technology, post-COVID pandemic expectation, etc. And Gen Z is just entering the job market after COVID or during COVID. So their expectation, their lifestyle, and their accommodation is very, very different worldwide. However, in Australia, it is even more challenging, and I will tell you why. But before I'm a researcher, I am an academic, so I cannot, I'm tempted by quizzes. So I will start with a quiz, although generally we do it at the end. I'll do something different today. So I have 2 questions for you. First of all, what does low unemployment rate in a country indicate to you? Is it that the country must be doing really well economically? More people in the country must be highly capable or skilled, or people must be willing to work due to availability of decent work? So I will come to the answer later. So think about it. Second question is, what may high unemployment rate amongst Gen Z in a country imply? So Gen Zs are lazy and spoiled. Country's economy is broken and not enough jobs are available for less experienced Gen Z? Or is it that Gen Zs are not willing to accept anything less than a decent job? So these are the questions I'm asking you to think about. I'll give you the correct answer for the first one. Oops, you can see that none of them are exactly correct. I didn't give you that option, cheeky me. The second one, you're probably thinking none of them are correct either. Well, I'm not that consistent or predictable. So C and B here can both be correct. All right, why am I saying that it could be correct? Because it depends on different scenario or context. So we have to differentiate between mainly 2 contexts, and that is advanced and developing economy. So in advanced economy, for example, Gen Z can afford to remain unemployed rather than accepting a less than decent job. Whereas in developing country, that may not be the scenario. They may prefer to be rather underemployed than being unemployed. So I will give you the example of Australia. Australia is an advanced economy, and our current unemployment rate is fairly low. It's not best 10, top 10, but fairly low. And that is 3 point something. But the least employed people in Australian workforce or generation is Gen Z. So those who are at their legal age for employment amongst Gen Z, they're the least employed. That means they have very high unemployment rate. And these three reasons, when I said C or B could be the reason, which one do you think is the reason for Australian Gen Z population being unemployed? It would be C. So they are not willing to accept generally anything less than a decent job. And although there are enough requirement for employment in many different unpopular industries, such as aged care sector or hospitality industry and agriculture industry. And this became, aged care industry was unpopular since 2009 or even before, but the other two industry was not as unpopular. They were actually having enough people to employ, but most of them were either international students or European backpackers who temporarily migrated to Australia. So basically, I am selecting aged care sector to elaborate my this phenomena and how to attract and retain Gen Z in the Australian unpopular industries, because you do need people for that industry as well. But before getting into that, just introducing my expertise and what kind of theory I'm building on. So you can see that this is one of my recent paper. It was published this year, just in October, on sustainability, and it is a Q1 ranked journal. So this paper was on high performance work system, and high performance work system essentially means a bundle of HR practices, HRM practices, which are fairly integrated, strategically defined, and contextually specified. That means this bundle can change from one country to another, one organization to another, one sector to another. So this is not a fixed bundle. So this has some advantage because we are flexible, and flexibility is the key to success these days. But at the same time, it provides a lot of challenges, because if you have 5 generations working in the same workplace, you cannot be flexible, have different system, 5 different systems to fit their situation or expectation. So as you can see that this particular paper was on unleashing employee potential, and we want to unleash Gen Z's potential as well, which is a very different generation from the rest 4 generation. And I include the traditionalist or old school as well, those who are probably above 70. And trust me, they are still working. Anyway, they are not our issue at the moment. So it is people who are like you, probably those who are studying undergrad at the moment. And I can see in the audience, you are very fresh, young, and probably Gen Z. Now, this was my theoretical base, that is high performance work system. How it works, I'll tell you. The problem with high performance work system is that you can have beautiful practices which integrates with each other and corporate strategy and the context. But if it is not perceived by the employees as such, then it will not create employee performance or organizational performance eventually. So you can have the best practice in the world, but if people don't trust your intention and perceive it as a good practice, then they will not perform. So basically, this system works through some mediational factors, that is climate, for example, that is organizational climate, not the environmental climate. So organizational climate means strength of HR and attitudinal and behavioral outcomes of employees, such as trust towards their organization and supervisor, and effective commitment, not continuance commitment, which means they don't have to stay in the organization forever, but if they have effective commitment or loyalty, that's a good attitudinal outcome. Some of the behavioral outcomes as well, like continuance, of course, and performance is also a behavior outcome, that is individual performance, which generally leads to organizational performance. So basically, this is the model. Now you can probably ask me, like, what are the high performance work system contents? Usually these are the contents for the service industry. As I said, it is flexible. So when I say systematic hiring or fair selective hiring, this doesn't mean same thing or same system to all organizations. Self-managed team, for example, may mean different levels of management, self-management. in different organization context and cohort. So all of these are not applicable everywhere. So my PhD thesis was done based on a developing country context in banking sector, in service industry. In manufacturing industry, it can be very different. So every industry has to be studied separately. That's what theory of high performance work system generally tells us. And so this is the basic theoretical framework, very simple, hopefully. Now, what do we know from general HRM theory? So this is another paper I published with my co-authors in 2019. Again, a good journal, a journal according to ABDC. So this one was about decent work, which is the 8th SGD goal provided by UN. Now, decent work has a couple of elements. So basically, decent work has 4 different elements, if I remember correctly. And these include fair working conditions, social dialogue and development, and career opportunities generally. So Gen Z would be very attracted to these kind of proposition, and they are, especially in advanced economy. Now, this standard is a global standard. It is not a standard to be followed by advanced economy only. But as I said in the previous quiz that I had with you, that we still have to differentiate between the nature of job and the economic condition of developing and advanced economy. So basically what my paper suggested is that there is a relationship between employment arrangements and work outcomes. That means performance and loyalty, etc. So decent work and high performance work systems are more likely to lead to a good outcome for both employer and employee, right? And decent work include fair work conditions, as I said, and this theory tells us that changes to employment arrangement and work systems can resolve most of the issues that we are currently having with Gen Z in Australia. And I didn't tell you exactly what issues we are having with Gen Z, but one clue I gave you in that quiz, and that is the option C. They will not settle for, they will rather be unemployed than settle for a less than decent job. And why they can do it? Because they have unemployment benefit from government, or they can be full-time students or something like that, and they can avoid doing work for a very long time. Or they will do actually part-time and very flexible work just to earn their bill, but they don't much care to jump from one job to another or one career to another. So that kind of flexible mentality is there. And they want the organization to, or work, to be revolving around their life preferences. I will come to these conclusions a bit later based on my preliminary field study, which basically where I have interviewed a few Gen Z employees and their supervisors as well. So let me focus on my next theory or publication. This one I have published recently as well, just this year. I was the second author of this one. Now, the relationship between job quality, employment arrangement, and there is a relationship between this and attraction and retention in any industry. So decent jobs, again, are more likely to get staff in general, and Gen Z in particular to join the relatively unpopular sectors of job and stay there. So context-specific HRM practices can assist workforce management. Now, again, maybe this is an alien topic for you, like why would we work so hard to attract people? Because people want to have a job. But if it pays well, then they will do the job. It's not as easy in case of Australian Gen Z. So this theory tells us that high-performance work system may resolve most of the current and future workforce challenges pertaining Gen Z, because high-performance work system is very flexible and contextual. So if we understand the need of or the nature of the work of certain industry, no matter how unpopular the job is, and we understand generally what Gen Z wants to be productive, to be high performer in the workplace, then we can probably find a middle ground to make them employed effectively, both for organization and beneficially for organization and themselves. Now, the next thing is about presenting a case study, which is Australian aged care sector, the most unpopular sector at the moment for workforce. And this has been so for a very long time because mostly migrant women constituted 2/3 of the healthcare workers in aged care industry in Australia, and migration is slowing down. So basically, aged population in Australia or any advanced economy is growing at a higher rate than developing economy or Eastern economy, because here the population growth rate is slowing down. And so we have more aged population than younger population. The death rate is also very low in advanced economy because of the better health choices and facilities. So basically, more aged group are growing in number, and whereas the younger population is growing much less. So, and a segment of that population are not willing to work in an unpopular industry. And what makes an unpopular industry in Australia is where vulnerable employees work more, such as I said, international students, for example, in hospitality industry used to work more. So these kind of industry, like aged care, where migrant women are working, CALD women means culturally and linguistically diverse background who cannot speak proper English, they are mostly working there. So it is very easy to exploit this population in terms of payment, job opportunity, career opportunity, or decent work, even in an advanced economy. So these jobs has traditionally become unpopular, and the local Australian, they're not attracted to these jobs, whereas younger generation is even less attracted, genuinely, I mean, naturally speaking. But what to do about it? Now, aged care sector obviously is very important for every Australian or anybody in the world, I would say. And we need somebody to look after our elderly generation who has contributed a lot in their early ages. So basically, you may ask me like why I'm studying aged care sector. As I said, this has been traditionally unpopular as an employment opportunity. And it is not just post-COVID situation. Why it is very important to think about attracting Gen Z, because migration is drying off slowly, and Australian Gen Z is genuinely not interested in this kind of work, and we need to go extra mile to make it work for them. And why is it challenging to attract and retain Gen Z? Because of this. And how is it possible to attract and retain Gen Z? That's the question we are asking with our research and trying to answer it. And the last question would be probably relevant to you, like why are we listening to Sadhana, whining about Australian aged care industry and how it is going to affect us? I think you should be also interested because when we think about a global village, I mean, this can be similar problem in many countries, especially advanced Western economy will definitely have similar problems in their aged care sector or other sectors who are unpopular. Second thing is that we need to understand that there is an opportunity. This is not just a challenge for Australian employers, but this is also an opportunity for highly populated country to migrate or to get a work permit or employment in Australia, for example, or aged care industry, where they can actually earn a decent living. Because many things are changing here to make it more palatable to both local and international employment market. So we need to find out exactly how to make it possible where we can solve everybody's problem. Now, first of all, what do we know about Australian Gen Z workforce? As I said or gave you some clue before, Australian Gen Z are new to the job market, obviously, because of the age. They prefer flexibility and well-being over wage and stability. Interesting. They don't actually care much about how much wage somebody is providing. Rather, so by increasing aged care payment, government didn't have much success in attracting Gen Z, at least. They don't care about stability because they are very flexible in mind, and they don't mind moving from one job to another. So they're not scared of reskilling. They rather enjoy it. And radical career changes are acceptable to them. It doesn't stress them out. So they want the workforce to accommodate their personal life choices, and work-life balance is on top of the list. So if they want to go in the middle of the year to another country to have a holiday because they are exhausted with work, the work has to give them that opportunity. So it's something like that. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it actually happened because one of my respondents from the supervisors group, who belong to a different generation, but employing Gen Z, they said that it actually happened. And when they said, look, if you go now, because I gave you 6 months of training, invested a lot of money, and now you are supposed to work better for me, they said, I'm exhausted with the training and I need 1 month vacation and I will go to another country and blah, blah, blah. And the employer said, you will lose your job then. So, okay, no problem. That's your problem, not my problem. And then they left. So many of the aged care industry supervisors, even though they're struggling to employ people or find people to employ, they said that I don't want to employ Gen Z anymore because they're too much management problem. All right, so you have to spend a lot of time managing them. So, but is it sustainable? So we are talking about sustainability at the moment. So I am focusing on a sustainable workforce. Can you work without this group forever? No, you have to build them up and you have to meet them halfway. So they want meaningful and ethical feel-good work. Now, aged care sector does have a feel-good element to it, but initially when somebody joins there, they think that we will talk to some wise, elderly, nice person all day, and that's aged care work. But it is not like that. There are many unpopular jobs related to the and emotional labor related to it, which they eventually understand. So even when government gave incentive to study nursing or become a healthcare worker with certification, they didn't have to pay, etc., and they still got the placement, and after placement they didn't want to work in aged care sector because it was not as feel good as they thought initially it would be. So these are some of the things that Gen Z workforce are feeling and how they are very different from any other workforce. Now, next one is, what do we know about Australian aged care sector? First of all, aged care sector can be private or philanthropic or government funded. So different kind of facilities have different type of arrangement, work arrangement. And after COVID-19, this became a more unpopular sector to work in. And also the quality of service was in question because of the contagion and worst outcome in the private providers. So labor shortage, obviously, and dependence on CALD worker, as I said, culturally and linguistically diverged group of women who are basically the first generation migrant in Australia. They are the 2/3 population of Australian aged care sector at the moment. And it didn't improve with government incentive and other things, unfortunately. And think about 2050 when the aged care sector demand for service will more than triple, and migration will probably drop to 50% of what is currently happening. So at that time, who will be working for these people? Because these CALD female workers, they are also aging. All right, so they won't be in this workforce for long. And new workforce who are coming as a migrant and trying to work in this sector, they're actually developing in other reskilling, especially Gen Z. They're reskilling very quickly to other sectors and moving somewhere else after they receive the PR, permanent residency or citizenship. So another problem is the demographic issue, that decline of younger demographics in Australia and Gen Z especially. So their preferences, they're low in number in Australia compared to higher age group. So basically, it is not a sustainable model for aged care industry to carry on. The problem is often viewed through a healthcare lens, but I argue that a more systematic employment arrangement and work system issues has to be studied to solve the problem for future. So we need to understand what constitutes high-performance work system in the aged care sector at the moment, as well as how it is perceived by Gen Z in Australia, in order to find a way to accommodate them properly in this sector for greater sustainability issues. So we also know that in this sector, currently it is a low-paid job, low job security is involved, demanding work, little career path available for it, and often stepping stone for many people to get into another field. Like, I will be doing this job because it's available and it's paying decently. To be honest, at the moment, it's paying quite decently. But yeah, I will not do this job because Gen Z especially, they don't want to do job for wages only. Even if you provide double of this wage, they will probably not do this job if they don't like it, because their well-being is more important than that. So career path is difficult to ascertain for at least some healthcare workers, and no surprise that these industries, similar type of industries, have difficulty in attracting and retaining current and future staff, especially Gen Z. So this is broadly our problem statement. Now, what do we know? There are certain things we don't know about certain issues in aged care. So we did the preliminary field survey for it with secondary data as well as some primary data. Now, obviously, we found out that there are variations across different types of provider in Australia where work arrangement is quite different. And regional areas, aged care sector is more struggling in attracting more employees. So there are little analysis available in the literature about it. And until we understand the problem fully, we cannot provide a solution. So our question will remain, how may Australian aged care organizations be the employer of choice for Gen Z? And the answer could be creating high-performance work system that suits both employer and employee. Now, what are the global implications? I probably gave you a hint before that this is an opportunity for people in other countries where unemployment rate is high to export human resource to Australia temporarily or permanently. And this could be a great source for, foreign currency. And my aim is to conduct a study to explore this problem and provide a foundation for a bigger project in future. So this should be a scalable project, multidimensional project. The pilot project next year will answer these questions, as you can see, like what constitutes high-performance work system in Australian aged care sector, and how how is high-performance work system perceived by Gen Z? What makes a high-performing organization to them or climate to work in? And third one, how to attract and retain these Australian Gen Z in the aged care sector to ensure a sustainable workforce. Now, the implication for people who are outside Australia is probably to understand the difference. Like if I have my result, then you can differentiate how Australian Gen Z is very different from other countries' Gen Z in terms of perceived high-performance work system. And what opportunities and challenges may these differences or similarity? There could be similarity. As I said, many Gen Zs are actually more flexible, more global, more internet-oriented, and they can work, they feel more comfortable and interested to work from anywhere. So if it is a Google-type organization, relaxed, creative-oriented, etc., then it would be no problem at all. But most of the organizations are not Google. So some organizations need you to be present and need you to work in very unpopular hour, like night or night shifts or any time of the day, etc. So we need to find out what are the similarities and differences and what kind of challenges it poses for international human resource management if we are getting employees from outside Australia. So this is the progress of my current study. So as you can see, in many areas we have done fully by secondary research, but in some other areas we have only progressed 50%, and in other areas only 10%, because it is very challenging to find aged care provider who is willing to give us time to talk with them. And even with incentive, we struggle to get that time because they are all very busy and overwhelmed, to be honest. Those who are working currently, they're getting a lot of money for doing it, but they're exhausted at the end of the day, even to talk 15 minutes about it. So these are some of the challenges, but we need to start somewhere understanding this problem for future. So that's my proposal. And obviously in future, I would be looking for collaboration, and some of you may be getting a pointer to do similar studies in your organization or your country. Thank you very much. I'll leave you with this heartwarming slide. As you can see, somebody has said how her grandmother in the aged care was once a vital woman, or a grandfather who was a young man who created, some kind of life-saving medicine and currently couldn't even handle his day-to-day chores. So this sector is extremely important for any country. And Gen Z are basically the target population to take care of the elderly. So thank you very much. If you have any question, please feel free to ask me.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Sardana. And yes, so now I will invite our audiences here in this auditorium and also in the Zoom meeting to ask questions. And so we'll be accepting 3 questions for this Q&A session. And again, please raise your hand if you have questions, and please keep your questions relevant to the theme. Yeah. Anyone? Okay, please.
Thank you for the moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benedictus Rangga. I'm from the major Management and Business, Bandar Lampung University. My question is, how might organization balance the need for structured performance metrics with the desire for autonomy and creativity among Gen Z employees within performance work system? Thank you.
All right, thank you for your question. If I understood it correctly, it was a bit broken, so I probably didn't understand it fully. But I think you are saying that autonomy is particularly a Gen Z issue. They want autonomy, they want control over their work and life balance, etc., and how we can create it in our organization. So high performance work system model, as a model, it states that you have to change this model based on the context. So if you are talking about university, for example, university employees are different. There are staff, academic staff, there are admin staff, etc. And academic staff are generally self-controlled, and they are working autonomously for a very long period of time, right? So, for example, I'm at home right now, and I didn't go to my university by my own choice. And I have that flexibility already built in my, role. It is not same for aged care worker, for example, who has to be present in the workplace, etc. So some of the organizations, as I said, Google, for example, is already built, like their climate and their whole system was already built for Gen Z, creative people who doesn't want to be tied down to 9 to 5 or any other office attire or anything like that. So this has been going on even from pre-COVID era. But the problem now is that Gen Z is in the workforce, and everybody invariably wants these flexibilities, autonomy, etc. And how will you provide it? That's a good question, and I am going to answer it with my research, hopefully. But what I understood from my sort of like preliminary field study is that Gen Z, some of the Gen Z employees are doing excellent in some of the work conditions. It doesn't have to be Google, but most of the work are designed to cater their need. For example, at the moment, one of my respondents was working in an insurance company as an underwriter. And she doesn't even have a degree on risk management or finance or anything. And she's just a year 12 graduate, Gen Z. And she got this wonderful job, which pays really well, but she's very savvy with technology. And they have set up something in their home, in her home. And she's, in your standard, she would be a bit lazy because she has to travel almost 2 hours daily to go to her office. So they have provided her 2 options, like she can work 2 days from home, 2 days from office, and they have made a setup in her home as well. And frequently she actually works from home and she's performing very highly. So only when she needs to go for a meeting, she's going there. Although, agreement is that she has to go to the office 2 days, but office was flexible because they saw that she was working fine from home as well and very highly productive. And she even got a promotion. So all of these, the office has accommodated her, the insurance company, made the rules a bit flexible, all right, because she's providing the outcome, performance outcome. So if your performance outcome is achieved without following the strict rule or policy of the organization, and it is not creating an equity issue, because everybody has that choice, then I think it will function properly. Otherwise, it won't. And that's why we say bundle of non-contradictory or non-counterproductive HR system. And if you are, for example, paying a lot of money for any job, and you are not considering, you are paying very less for a job because it's low skill, like aged care, some of the jobs are low skill, but it has high emotional price, risk, as well as emotional labor, which you are not recognizing in the pay scale, then it will not be a high performance, it will be a counterproductive system. So what I'm saying is that you have a good question that how can we provide it? I want to know it from Gen Z and their supervisors. Currently, the supervisors are immensely angry with this group. They're saying these are the most disturbing group, spoiled like rotten, and they're the most disturbing group, and they take a lot of time to manage. And I have to teach them everything by hand. They don't want to read any policy or do paper pushing, unpopular or boring job, etc. And they don't care about the job. I can't threat them by taking the job away from them because they said, okay, take away, I will go somewhere else. But I still want my vacation. So this is the problem. Now, I'm guessing that Gen Z, when they grow up and become a supervisor, they will identify these issues from both directions, and they will come up with a better system for themselves to make people work better and organization function better, just like Google did. All right, so creative people, even at the senior position, they identified that you need a more relaxed environment in order to make the creative people work better. And this works really beautifully. So if an organization is innovative, then it will fit right in. But you have to, as a manager, understand this problem, understand the job, what the job performance requires, and how to adjust it with the perceived high performance work system of the Generation Z, which is a new generation, by the way. And that's why I'm saying that this study is very important to do in different contexts, because all Gen Zs in every country is not similar, because their situation, their upbringing, culture is different. So there may be some similarity, but you cannot expect one formula to fit everyone here. But high performance work system is a theory which provides you that flexibility. And so to answer your question directly, you have to study the context you're talking about in order to find out how to attract or create a high performance work system for your Gen Z.
Thank you for your answer.
Thank you, Dr. Sardana, for the answer. And we are still opening the session. We still accepting 2 more questions. So if anybody have any more questions, please raise your hand. Yes, please.
Thank you. Let me introduce myself first. I am Afrizal Nilwan. I am currently a doctorate student in management in Bandar Lampung University. I am very much interested with your presentation, especially when you are explaining about the aged care sector. As you know, Indonesia and your native country, perhaps. I suppose you are coming from Bangladesh, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Originally.
Yeah.
Although I'm Australian citizen now. Yeah.
Yeah, but both Indonesia and Bangladesh are predominantly Muslim country, which in Islamic teaching, elderly should be taken care of by their descendant. That's part of their virtue of younger generation. So it's very much interesting if we could compare your findings, your preliminary findings in Australia. I heard that you don't really much elaborate whether your respondent is in industrial society or in rural area. That's much can be explored more in the future, I think. In Indonesia, mostly elderly people were taken care by their children, especially this much happen in the rural area. But in the industrial area, in big city, for example, like in Bandar Lampung or in Jakarta, because of their jobs, their job requirements, they have little time to care for their elderly. So I think maybe I suppose Australia is a little bit secular in this regard. So I just ask maybe what is your view about this cultural background differences in this matter? Thank you.
Very good question. And obviously, it shows that you are a PhD student. Very analytical question, I would say. Critical thinking is applied. Very impressive. Yes, you are exactly correct. So I did only preliminary field survey on this one. So I went to a private aged care sector and a public one, which are both in regional locations, to talk to the supervisors, first of all. Second is that Gen Z that I talked to understand what they prefer in the workplace and what suits them. These ones are generally metropolitan areas, but they are from anywhere. Like I only talked to 5 people, including their supervisors. So basically, some of them are in regional location, so remotely working, but the organization itself is in metropolitan areas. So these sort of things. So I didn't make a distinction between regional and at this moment, but it is a good point. Second thing is that you are correct. Like I am also Muslim. Assalamu alaikum, by the way. And so I know that, yes, our culture, not only Muslim culture, but Eastern culture generally requires the children to look after their parents. But in advanced economy, as you know, that childbirth rate is very low. So the young population is drying off a little bit because of the low population growth, whereas elderly populations are living longer than expected before. So basically, it is not possible structurally for, even if you culturally say that, okay, there are Muslim community, aren't they looking after their parents? Yes, they are. But they also have some capacity because, as I said, that less number of children, more number of parents are living. So basically, it's an impossible situation. But many children do look after their parents, even as a carer, where government is actually paying them as a carer because they have to leave their job or, you know, because sometimes dementia, for example, somebody with dementia, it's very expensive to look after them or hire carer for them. So home care activities are also available in Australia, like carer comes to your house or live with you, and instead of you living in aged care. So these things are happening here as well. But as I said, like, you don't have workers, qualified workers who are willing to do it for a very long period of time. So it's very difficult to arrange for all these. And similar to Bangladesh, actually, because there are some aged care sector is growing in popularity in Bangladesh as well, because Bangladesh depends a lot on remittances, foreign remittances. So people go outside and work and send money. So a lot of children these days cannot look after their elderly parents. And still there are cheap labor, so we can still, unqualified people can look after your parents and you can just pay for it, but at their own home. So aged care is a social stigma as well. People see it as a pathetic situation, like, oh, their children are not looking after them, so they feel pitied. So it's not dignified. So many people, even though they get better care in aged care, they actually don't want to go there because of that social stigma, which I believe personally should be removed. because some of the aged care sectors are actually quite a wonderful place to be with your similar age group, and you can have a wonderful time. I visited few and they're excellent, absolutely excellent. The problem is that because of the workforce crisis, especially in advanced economy, not in Bangladesh, you can get worker there if you get good money. But in Australia, for example, it is very difficult. And managing this workforce is even becoming more and more difficult. But comparative study in different countries could be an interesting way to look at it. But honestly, I don't see my theory or my study to be limited to aged care. I would say, like in Indonesia, what is the most unpopular sector to work in? You can study that sector and see why Gen Z may not be interested to work there, if they're not interested to work there. And so aged care happens to be the most unpopular sector for employment in Australia due to the work arrangement and the type of exploitative system that grew up because of the called women worker. As I said, most vulnerable worker, whenever they're populating a sector, it becomes very indecent, not indecent, I mean, less decent job, all right, comparatively. So nobody wants to really work there for a longer period of time. And same happens with women-intensive industries. Even teaching job became very unpopular in Australia because women used to occupy it and the payment was less. They were not demanding much, even the local English-speaking women. So basically, some of the jobs became unpopular by structural or vulnerability of the workforce or structural issues. Now we are suffering. These are non-sustainable sectors because sustainability also depends on population, right? People is one very important part of sustainability. Money obviously is economic aspect and climate is another one. But yes, you cannot run an industry without population, even in the age of automation. So aged care is the most vulnerable one in that sense because we tried to automate it to reduce the manpower labor related issues. But an aged person doesn't interact with machine as the new generation, you know? So it's very difficult to provide them quality service without human touch because it's about emotion also. And so, yeah, it is interesting. And I understand the differences of culture, etc. And that's why high performance work system is so interesting to apply here, because it does take into account the external context as well, which I did in Bangladesh. I did my PhD with the data from Bangladesh, and it's in banking sector. And I have established that the content of usual Western content of high performance work system is not fully acceptable in Bangladesh or applicable because it can be counterproductive due to the cultural differences. So that's an interesting point, and many of you may actually pick up a proper industry and study it in future.
Thank you very much for your answer. I highly appreciate your response. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions and for the answer from Dr. Sardana. We still accept one more question. If there is anyone who would like to ask us a question to Dr. Sardana. Okay, I guess that is enough. Huh? Oh, sorry. Okay. Yes, please.
Thank you for moderator. Let me introduce myself. My name is Nikita Lokrista. I'm from the major Management and Business, Bandar Lampung University. My question is, what challenges may arise when implementing performance work system for the Gen Z workforce, and how can organization address these challenges effectively? Thank you.
All right, very good question. The most important challenge for implementing high performance work system is that the understanding of the management about what creates high performance for their organization can be extremely different, opposite, in fact, to how it is perceived by the employees. For example, when I studied banking sector in Bangladesh, I saw that there were some similarity and differences between management and employees. All right. Later, I saw the difference was not huge. But let me tell you, in case of Gen Z, for example, it is going to be huge. That's what I'm predicting. But in many Western context studies, they have seen that the lower level employees, that is, who are at the bottom line, and the high level employees are so far distant from each other. The status distinction is so far high that they actually don't understand or see things similarly. All right. So basically, what is seen as a good practice by the senior management is actually a terrible practice, viewed as terrible practice by the bottom level employees. Therefore, it is not aligning with each other and it is being counterproductive. So top level management frequently follow the best practice, and best practice usually comes from Western literature, Western organization, Western knowledge, and so dominant countries. But it may not be appropriate for the people or specific context of that industry. And if you don't study your own people who are working for you, then you will have this mismatch. Second thing is the trust. So I told you that high performance work system only works to produce better performance if there is good climate, that is HR is strong, and that means good communication, continuous transparent communication, etc. And if we trust each other, then we perceive any well-intended practice as a good practice. Because if I don't trust my supervisor or my organization, even if they're trying to reduce my workload by implementing a new IT system, for example, I will think that, oh my God, they're changing IT every day so that we are always busy for nothing. All right, we are learning new things and it is not improving anything because they just want us to work to death. They want to occupy us all the time, because that's the perception I have for my employer maybe. And that means that I don't trust my organization system or the supervisor. Their trust can be of 3 levels of trust can be there. In my thesis, I actually only viewed this trust for supervisors, which we generally brand as employee trust. But trust can also be towards organization and its system. All right, so you may trust your supervisor, but you may think that, oh, my organization is terrible and the system is totally bad. And my supervisor, though he's good, he's not empowered enough to implement any good system on me. All right, although he's compassionate, that helps, but it doesn't help a lot. You will still try to leave the organization or sort of like be passive aggressive towards the organization. That means jeopardizing doing only the work that you need to do in order to save your job, but not actually performing over and above. All right. So you need to have that kind of loyalty, and that can be built by trust. And another is psychological empowerment, which is also very important. And another is effective commitment. You need to like your organization. I haven't been working. Actually, one of my previous students was in the audience today, Muqtadir. I don't know if he's still there. So I used to work in one of the Bangladeshi university and long ago. And that time, I saw that in many cases, we definitely didn't trust the system in many cases, but we had wonderful relationship within the workplace. And that helped us perform a little better above our level or above our facility, but we felt psychologically empowered to do so. That means we had the autonomy, we had the voice. Voice is very important, and it is part of decent work agenda of UN as well. Voice, choice. All right, choice is also an agenda, which used to not used to be there for all kinds of job. So yes, it is how it can work, building trust, making people psychologically empowered, and trying to develop effective commitment. And how can you develop effective commitment? I actually has an old paper in a B journal on that, which has been highly cited. I will just write effective commitment and Sardana, my name, then you will find it. So hopefully, and in Google search, Google Scholar actually. So basically, there I have said how you can develop effective commitment among employees and how it affects your performance, employee performance. And there are many ways. Obviously, you have to behave well with your employees and try to understand them, continuously communicate and explain the situation, etc. And they need to trust your intention. That's the most important thing. in properly implementing high performance work system in order to produce performance effectively. And it has to be strategically linked as well. That's very important definition of high performance work system, that it has to be strategically aligned. Very simple example, if a bank is a mediocre bank or a low performing bank catering to large mass market but not service oriented, they're not selling high quality service for a high quality price, they're selling to mass population with low quality service and price. If that is the strategy and it's working for them, there is no point hiring the cream from the market and sending them to rural areas who will be very ineffective there because they will be highly disturbed, wouldn't be integrated to the community and wouldn't be able to serve the bank properly either. So you need to change your recruitment policy or have a different types of policy for different location, which many banks didn't do. And that was a problem because you didn't have, you are trying to have a great recruitment policy. So you get the cream out of market, give them lots of payment, but send them to rural area where they and their family is not happy. And therefore they're not creating, it's counterproductive. All right, you have wonderful high performance work system in some areas and other types of systems are not matching with it. So strategic integration, strategic direction is very important to integrate with whatever system you are developing. So HR system has to be a bundle, looked at as a bundle, a customized bundle based on your context and the strategy. And you have to build trust. Even if you do all the other structural things properly and your people don't trust you, then it won't work.
Thank you, Dr. Sardana, for your answer.
Okay, thank you.
I can see Mr. Deer is still here. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Nikita, and thank you also to Dr. Sardana for the answer, and also, of course, for the impressive presentation. And yeah, as we can see, it is a very interesting topic Dr. Sardana had presented, because we can see that it is actually an issue about Gen Z and also the older generation because of different views, cultures, and the way they grow up, the environment. And yeah, so we learned that the Gen Z prefer flexibility and well-being or work-life balance, while the older gen are mostly prefer well-paying job and stability. And so to find the middle ground to it, we had learned that maybe making a change to employment arrangements and work systems could help by creating the high performance work system that could suit the employee and employer. Is that right, Dr. Sardana?
Yes, exactly. You got it right. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. That we learned a lot. And so, yeah, thank you again for the impressive presentation. And I would like to express my gratitude to Dr. Sardana for the valuable insights today. And also, I would like to extend my gratitude to our keynote speakers for today, Dr. Haninun, Professor Hakim, and also Professor Narina. And as I am sure that it is undoubtedly has enriched our understanding on each of the topics that had been presented today. And so with that, we'll be ending this session for keynote speakers' presentations. And so Mrs. Weni will take it from here to continue the conference. Thank you so much.
Okay, honestly, I still want to hear more about the material presented by the keynote speakers, but time is running out. And then I would like to say thank you so much for our keynote speakers for today, Professor Hakim Ben Othman, PhD, and Professor Narina Ringo, Dr. Sardana Han, and of course for Dr. Haninun, forced to be the extraordinary keynote speakers today. Especially, I would like to say thank you for our moderator, Ms. Melissa and Ms. Finella, to be the best moderator in the second international conference. May the second international conference on management, leadership, and organizational science to be maybe a source of intelligence and knowledge for all of us. Maybe we should be take a picture together. Mr. Dr. Andela Ramaputra Barusman, we should to take picture together, and Dr. Hairudin, and all of the lecturer in this room, in the auditorium Pasca Sarjana Universitas Bandar Lampung. And I would like to say thank you for all the participants. Maybe we should to take picture together. Everyone, ladies and gentlemen, please be rise and be closer to take a picture. In the left side and right side will be closer in the center. Yang belakang lebih rapat lagi teman-teman, kayaknya kurang ke tengah, yang sebelah situ masih kosong, kurang agak ke kanan lagi, yang maju aja ke depan biar. Oke, gaya formal terlebih dahulu mungkin. Gaya bebasnya berarti sekali lagi terakhir berenang dong. Okay. The participant in the online Zoom, maybe we should to on the video, the camera in the Zoom. All the participants, we should to take picture together with our keynote speaker, Professor Hakim Ben Onsman, Professor Narina, and Dr. Sardana Khan. And ladies and gentlemen, please to on the video. Slide pertama, first slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. Okay, everyone, honestly, I still want to hear more about the material presented by keynote speakers, but time is running out, and then time is over. Thank you so much. I'm Weni Permatasari. I would like to say thank you so much for the all participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Untuk seluruh panitia, kita berfoto bersama dulu teman-teman.